Today we're going to show one of the newest products that we have that's been really well received. And we have a few out for testing, and I've got a couple of 100 hours on the one that's in my airplane, and it really made the airplane nice for me. Now I need to reiterate, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the Vans airplane, because I think it's the neatest little airplane ever built. But for my purposes, there's a few little things that I changed that made it more comfortable for me. So one of them, I think most American guys are big and maybe a few too many $100 hamburgers. That being the case, this makes the airplane nicer. So this is a seat modification that basically moves the back of the seat back almost 4 inches. And 4 inches is huge. I started off on this originally in my own airplane because when I'd get in it, I felt like everything was too close. I felt I was a little bit cramped. And I didn't notice it at first, but after I started flying, on a few 2 or 3 hour trips, then it became very evident. And I felt like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. My arms were up like this all the time because the panel felt like it was right in my face. And I don't see well up close like most guys that got a few years on them, so I have to wear these readers. And what it did was it put the panel so close to my face that it became absolutely imperative that I have these things on to look at the panel and be able to see it good. And then when these are on, I can't focus on anything further away. So just a few inches made a big difference. Now by moving the seat back about 4 inches, the seat back is about in the middle of your back. So it moves your head back almost double that. A good 6 inches back further, which is big difference. So anyway, I wanted to kind of go over the pieces that we've made, show how they go in. It's a very simple, inexpensive modification that a guy can do in a couple hours. The pieces that you get look like this. This is the new crossbar. It's very strong, made out of stainless. And because it's stainless steel, it looks nice and it doesn't rust, and there's no need to paint it. So when this is in your airplane and it's going across the back here, this thing sees a lot of action. The seat going back and forth against it. When you're putting baggage in the baggage compartment, you have a tendency to slide it over this thing. So if there's paint on it, it takes its toll. Then it isn't necessary to paint this. Now the parts come bare. It comes with this, 2 of these little brackets that you rivet on the back, and that gets the seat adjuster bracket. That's the receiver for them. The holes are pre-drilled. You may have to open them up because we make them do a couple of thousandths undersize with the laser, and then you can run a drill through them so they fit perfectly. You'll rivet these pieces on. Then there's 2 of these side brackets, and they're basically just for aesthetics. They go in to cover where you've taken the old crossbar out. And then this is the new centerpiece that takes the place of where the old crossbar went across. So there's not a lot of work involved with this. The first thing you have to do is remove the original crossbar. It's the back rest for the seat, and it goes from this area across. You have to take this out. The best way to get this out is the way I did it, with a hacksaw. After you've removed the rivets, it's easiest to cut this in half to take it out of there. It's almost impossible to maneuver out of the airplane without cutting it in half. So you take all the rivets out of the front here, and there's a few on the top, and just 4. And you knock those rivet heads off, punch them out, saw this in half, and it comes right out of there. Now, the new crossbar is much narrower than this one. So the new crossbar, when it's installed, it actually moves the seat back almost 4 inches, just under 4 inches, which is huge. And you actually don't lose much in the way of baggage area because the new piece is narrower. You lose about 1.25 inches, I believe, of baggage area, but you gain almost 4 inches of seating area, which makes the airplane much more comfortable. Now, once this piece is removed, the rivets are taken out, the only modification you have to do on the airplane itself is on this area right here. You need to trim these corners off. Normally these come back out here flat because the old crossbar fit over the top of this. So you just trim these off at a 45 up to the corner, and that provides enough clearance for the new piece. Now, this little brace goes on right here on the back of the sheet metal that covers the flap actuator. And it's kind of an important piece because it stiffens this whole thing up. So it goes right back in with the 2 existing nut plates. Can be the same 2 screws you took out. Okay, now, the new side pieces come like this, and there's no holes in them. The reason we elected to not put holes in is because it seems like there's a little variation in the airplanes from one airplane to another. So once you take this other crossbar out, this piece just slides in here underneath this tab, and you just shove it back, reach through from the back side, and drill about 3 holes through the front for rivets, and about 2 through the sides for rivets, and rivet this piece in like this one is. Now, we've went ahead for the video and riveted these in already, but it's pretty much self-explanatory. You just rivet these pieces in, put a couple of rivets in the top, and now that's the only modifications on the airplane. So once those are in, then the next step is to put this crossbar in. The bar goes in right up against the 2 side brackets and the bracket that we just put on. Once that's in place, these 2 bolts, there's 2 on each side, and this is where some of the hardware for the canopy sits. You can see right here. You remove these pieces from the airplane initially. Now, we don't drill this either because these holes are drilled by the builder, so they can vary slightly. You clamp this in place where there's no gap, and you run a drill down through the original holes in the aluminum through the new crossbar, and there's 2 on each side. The center holes are already pre-drilled. So once you've drilled these 2 holes through, then these pieces can be bolted back in to their original location and put the nuts on. Now, that holds, it sandwiches this piece of aluminum, this bracket, the new little cover, the new crossbar, and everything all together. It's very, very strong right in this area. So never going to be a problem here. It's much stronger than the original, actually. So you bolt these back in on each side, and now this piece is in. Now, we supply it with a new centerpiece, and it's very simple to install. Like I said, these 2 holes are already drilled. The top 2 holes on each side, and the 2 holes in this original bracket all match this and fit it perfectly. So you stick this up here. We'll go ahead and run it in here a little bit just so we can see how it looks. A couple of Clecos on this side since we don't have that cover on there. I left this cover off just so you could see what this looks like underneath. but normally when you put this cover back on, this goes in with screws. Now this centerpiece depends on this for some support, and this is very flexible. So once you've got this bolted in, you put 2 bolts through the top and nuts on the bottom, and now you're done. I put a couple of Clecos in here just because we have this side bracket off. But when you do your installation, it isn't necessary to even take that side cover off. This is just very simple. Once you take this original piece out, everything pretty much just bolts right in. The only riveting involved is the 2 decorative pieces on the sides and the little brackets that receive the seat adjuster panels. So that's pretty much the installation. Now this fellow that has this airplane was very convenient for us because it's in process, and it allowed us to put this in, and you see how it looks with everything out of the way. Now a few of the advantages of this is the fact that it is stainless steel, very durable. It's very strong, stronger than the original. But one of the things that I really like about it, aside from the fact that it makes my airplane much larger and more comfortable, is the fact that it's removable. You can take these 2 screws out. When I do my annuals, I take the canopy off because I'm in and out of it so much that it's much nicer to work with the canopy off, plus it eliminates the dangers of me hurting the canopy. So I take the canopy off, you take these 2 bolts, those 2 bolts, and these 2, and this comes out of the way. So now you can get in here to do your annual, you can get in here and crawl around and lay down and get in the back and lay down and get under the panel and work without this in the way. And if you've ever done this, you realize just how nice that is. It's very difficult to crawl around in here at annual time or work on the airplane with this bar in place. Another thing I might mention is on this center panel, this is a very convenient place for a guy to put his headset jacks. A lot of guys like to put them right here in the middle, and it's easy access and easy to take off to work on to do your wiring or to look at. So this piece is aluminum and very light. This piece is a heavier material than the original, but the original is much larger, and it has a lot of other junk riveted on it to give it a little strength because it's so flimsy to start with. So that's unnecessary on this one, and it works out that the weight is just about a wash. You're not really adding any weight to the airplane. You just making the airplane basically bigger. It feels much bigger when you sit in it. And we've had, like I said, we have some of these out in the field being tested, and I deal with literally hundreds of RV owners, and everyone that gets in my airplane comments on just how nice that is, and everyone that's gotten in my airplane wants it. Even the guys that don't need the extra room, that are of a small stature, they want it just because it makes their passengers more comfortable. So, and they like the convenience of being able to take it out. So now we'll go look at one that's with all the interior in it and get some measurements of headroom and whatnot on the video. Well, here we are back at my hangar with my 9A, and mine has this modification done to it. Been in there a couple hundred hours. And I kind of wanted to show everybody what it looks like and the differences with this in and not in. So it's a pretty extreme difference. 4 inches doesn't sound like much, but when it comes to a seating position, it's a huge change. If you look here, you can see this seat has the little spacer bracket flipped up to move the seat forward. And when it's in this position, this is exactly the stock position when the seat was all the way back without this modification done. So you can compare this seat to the pilot seat, and see there's a huge difference. It doesn't make it feel like you're laying down either. It just feels so much more spacious. So now you've seen that, I'm going to get in and show the differences of how much more headroom you have and how much further away from the panel your face is. So I'm going to move this seat up into the original stock location and get in here and show you the difference. All right, this is the stock seating position with none of the foam behind the seat or any of that. What bothered me about this stock position is, like, here's my GPS, and it's so close that it's not natural to try to touch it. Like I said, I'd look like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Also, the same thing with the panel. It's so close to my face that it's almost difficult for me to focus on. And the headroom. When the canopy's shut, there's not a whole lot of headroom in here for a big person like myself. So with the canopy shut and me sitting here, if I reach up here on top of my head, the clearance from the top of my head to the canopy, to the plexiglass, is just about 2 fingers at best. So I got about 1.5 inches. That's awfully close. I tried one of those shades that you pull forwards and backwards, and when they're corrugated, and when it was back, it hung down enough that it rubbed on my head, and it was somewhat irritating. So that's why I made these that are in here, because they're very thin. So that's the stock position. Now when I'm sitting up here straight, if I measure from the panel back to my eyes, well, it looks like about 24 inches from the panel. So we got 24 inches and about 1.5 inches of headroom. So now let's drop this piece back and move the seat back to the new position and see if we can see the difference. Okay, there's the new position. Now, first from the panel, it's about 28 inches. So I've gained about 8 inches overall. Now we've only moved the seat back 4, but because the back of the seat pivots or where it rests is against that bar, which is halfway down my back, you move that 4 inches and it moves my head back quite a bit more different. The panel is far enough away that it looks right. I can reach over here and touch my GPS without going like this. It just feels much better to me. Now, as far as headroom, the new position gives me about 4 inches of headroom versus 1.5 inches. So the airplane, it makes it feel like a different airplane. It's just much, much larger, and because we didn't move the bottom of the seat back, it doesn't really have an effect on CG that we can detect. We had it sitting on the scales, and we try it in both positions with 2 heavy people in here, and it doesn't seem to change the CG at all. And the weight of the unit complete is just about a wash with what we take out. So there's no impact on CG by doing the modification. It just makes the airplane bigger, more roomy, and much, much more comfortable. So anyone who's interested in this, we should have it up on our website here and about simultaneously with this video. And we have some made up already in stock. One thing I need to add is right now, this modification, we did this on the 7 and on the 9. I haven't had access to a 6 as of yet to verify what we have to do to make it work in the 6. It may work, but I have to verify that. We may have to modify it or change its length a little or modify it slightly. But we will have it available for the 6 also for the guys that want that. So that pretty much shows it. Makes her a whole lot more comfortable airplane. Feels like, I guess we could call this the cheap man's 14 modification. Because I think it gives us a comparable amount of room. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and hope to hear from everyone.